Namaskar, and today I'll be discussing the Defense Intelligence Agency DIA's assessment of the global security environment. It is known as the 2025 Worldwide Assessment of the DIA. Now, DIA is a US agency which compiles an annual report on the threat assessment for US by using intelligence report received from various parts of the world. This report is not only about the current threats, but it is also about the trends and threats as the world moves forward. Although the DIA focuses on threat perceptions for US, but it is interesting to note what this report says about the adversaries India faces, that is China and Pakistan. It is said that being forewarned is being forearmed. So what does the report say about China? Because come back to the point that this is basically about US, but these two countries are in our neighborhood and not on very good terms with us. So whatever military developments these countries indulge in is directly going to impact India much before it is going to impact the United States. So what does this report say about China? We'll take China first and then come to Pakistan. So, as per DIA, China's strategic objective is to be the preeminent player in East Asia, challenge the United States for global leadership, unify Taiwan with mainland China, advance the development and resilience of the Chinese economy, and become technologically self-sufficient by mid-century. Now, China continues to advance, the report says, its global capabilities to confront the United States and its allies across the diplomatic, information, military, and economic domains. Xi Jinping, the president of China, is continuing to oversee efforts and overseeing a whole of government effort, I should be saying, to better prepare China for competition with the United States and its allies in the Indo-Pacific region and beyond, and focused efforts to undermine popular and public support for US military alliances and security partnerships. Now, given the present state of leadership in the United States and the erratic weights, not much is required to somehow make it unpopular, because they are taking such hasty and decisions that it's undermining the support they have across the world. But that's a different story altogether. So we'll be focusing on this report only. Now, China, the report says, is rapidly expanding its military modernization and developing capabilities across all warfare domains that could enable it to seize Taiwan by force. Mind you, they plan to seize Taiwan by force despite whatever they say, and they're giving ample evidence of going ahead with the force bit, with the amount of blockade, the occasional blockade they indulge in, then the transgressions into the airspace of Taiwan. So they plan to do that to better project power in the Western Pacific and to disrupt US attempts to maintain presence or intervene in a conflict in the Indo-Pacific region. Since DIA report is about assessing threats for US, it is important that India uses these inputs to formulate a national security brief for itself, as China continues to have territorial disputes with India, and they are being very vocal about it. They are not trying to hide away their territorial disputes with India. So China's leaders are keen on meeting key military transformation targets set for the year 2027 and 2035. Now, coming to the Chinese military defense budget, it's all very opaque, but in 2025, China announced a nominal 5.2% increase in the annual military budget, increasing it to 247 billion US dollars. However, China's actual defense spending is significantly higher. Following the 2024 defense spending of an estimated 304 to 307 billion dollars. Now, these figures include publicly omitted defense spending such as research and development and defense industrial base subsidies. China has announced a realignment of the PLA Aerospace Force, Cyberspace Force, Information Support Force, and Joint Logistics Support Force directly under the Central Military Commission, which is under the chairmanship of President Xi Jinping and other military leaders. Now, this realignment reinforces the importance PLA leaders place on space, cyber operations, and electronic warfare as asymmetric weapons to paralyze adversaries' information systems during a conflict. The PLA Air Force and the PLA Naval Aviation Forces continue to evolve into more technologically advanced, effective, and capable forces proficient at conducting joint operations. PLA Rocket Force, which is very important for India because remember, US is still very far away. India is just next door neighbor for China, and we need to know facts about China and prepare accordingly. The PLA Rocket Force has fielded approximately 900 short-range ballistic missiles, 1,300 medium-range ballistic missiles, 500 intermediate-range ballistic missiles, 400 intercontinental ballistic missiles, and 400 ground-launched cruise missiles. Now, these are very significant numbers, and I would suggest that we should not be falling into the trap of mocking Chinese capabilities or technology or their proficiency, because that is where you basically drop your guard the moment you get into that, because these numbers are significant and China keeps the best items for itself and sells the second-hand item, I would say, to countries like Pakistan. Now, the space and counter space capabilities, because they are preparing like no other country is. Now, China is working to launch a variety of satellites that substantially enhance its intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance capabilities, field advanced communication satellites able to transmit large amount of data, which could turn out to be the difference between victory and defeat during a conflict. They possess more than 1,000 satellites, including about 500 remote sensing ISR satellites, second only to the United States. By 2030, DIA says, Chinese companies plan to launch thousands of satellites as mega constellations, which are intended to compete with Starlink as alternative providers of global internet and secure communications. China continues to dedicate significant resources with the ability to disrupt, damage, and destroy adversary space capabilities. Now, these operational anti-satellite missiles are intended to target satellites in low Earth orbit, and China is developing more advanced capabilities to destroy satellites in geosynchronous orbit. The Chinese have also developed a variety of electronic warfare systems, mobile jammers. Almost certainly these things are dedicated to deny the adversary the adversary's satellite communications and global position capabilities during conflict. Now, coming last to the Chinese cyberspace capabilities, I'll be very brief about it. Now, they are leading in cyber intrusions, China, including by the PLA Cyberspace Force and Ministry of State Security. They are targeting information networks around the world, including US government systems, to steal intellectual property and data and develop access into different fields. Now, coming to Pakistan, this becomes very important given the latest round of conflict we had with Pakistan. And this report has come after Operation Sindhu, so it's very relevant, it's very contemporary. Now, the report itself says, and the Pakistanis make no bones to hide it, the Pakistan regards India as an existential threat and will continue to pursue its military modernization effort, including the development of battlefield nuclear weapons to offset India's conventional military advantage. Pakistan, DIA says, is modernizing its nuclear arsenal and maintaining the security of its nuclear materials and nuclear command and control. Pakistan almost certainly procures, this is important, WMD, that is the weapons of mass destruction, applicable goods from foreign suppliers and intermediaries. Pakistan is a recipient of China's economic and military support, and Pakistani forces conduct multiple military exercises with PLA every year. Foreign materials and technologies supporting Pakistan's WMD programs are very likely acquired primarily, listen to this very carefully, they are acquired primarily from suppliers in China and sometimes are transshipped through Hong Kong, Singapore, Turkey and the UAE. The WMD, the weapons of mass destruction, include nuclear, chemical and biological weapons to create maximum mayhem. So maybe this is what Ahmad Sharif Chaudhry, the DG ISPR, was referring to when he says ki India ki saansein rok denge, when he was speaking at a public program after Operation Sindoor on the Indus Water Treaty. So this is very significant. Now this is I'm sure the planners in India are aware of this fact and they're looking into this, but this needs to be widely spread, the nefarious designs of Pakistan on India, and that it is going to use any means available at its end to settle scores with India. The DIA points it out and we need to know more about it and keep an eye on what is happening in Pakistan. Now India, the report is very brief about India, because maybe US, and rightly so, does not consider India as a military threat to it. Now India, according to the reports, views China as its primary adversary, which is correct, and Pakistan more an ancillary security problem to be managed. The report says that India is building bilateral and trilateral relationships to counter China and boost its international relationship role. It talks about the Made in India program and how the domestic defense industry is growing, how the supply chain things are being corrected in India, and the modernization of the Indian armed forces. The report refers to the conducting tests of nuclear capable deterrents and development Agni 1 Prime MRBM and Agni 5 multiple independently targetable re-entry vehicle. The DIA also mentions about the commissioning of the second nuclear powered submarine Indian Navy to strengthen the nuclear triad and bolster its ability to deter adversaries. So that in a nutshell is the DIA Worldwide Assessment 2025 report as it refers to India and Indian adversaries. And so it is very important that the Indian strategic culture, it is widely disseminated. If you want the full report, you can go and read the full report on the website of DIA. And as I said earlier, being forewarned is being forearmed. So that is it for now, and I'll come back to you later with some fresh reports. Thank you and Jai Hind.